Good morning, everyone. As Dr. Aurora mentioned, my name is Mario Solares. Currently, I'm working at Pharmavite. I've been working at Pharmavite for the past 6 years. Next month is 6 years. Before Pharmavite, I worked at Takeda. Back then, it was called Baxter Bioscience. So I do have about 30 years of experience in the manufacturing field. I concentrate more on the GMP environments, having a close look into the quality regulatory side of it. I have a degree from Cal State LA and also a degree from UCLA. So basically, what we're going to be doing is we're going to go over some company summary descriptions. These are companies that are throughout Southern California around pharmaceuticals for you guys to have an idea where they are. And I just want to make a note, these are not all the companies that are here, there are just some. And after that, we're going to have a job description exercise. I feel that this will help you to build your resume. Some people tell me all the time, hey, help me with my resume. Help me with my resume. And what I tell them is, what position are you applying to? Because that's the key. Always customize your resume based on the job description that you're applying to. And then I'm going to talk about what is GMP and lean manufacturing. Okay? So what I hear is that you guys are here for one, get experience, right? Two, get to know the program. Three, get to know what the industry offers and what's out there. And last, to see if you can get a job in biotech. And let me tell you, this certification will give you all that, right? But the difference is that you guys need to look for it. And the key for that is, again, looking at what you are applying for. Okay? Always ensure that you know what you guys are applying for. The reason why I said that is because as we are moving out of COVID, during COVID season, we had so many openings. I think every industry out there had so many openings, everyone. Us alone in Pharmavite, we hired over the past year I would say about 60 people. And at the beginning, yes, we were looking at people with experience, but it got to the point that there was not enough people with experience out there. So we started getting just people out of high school or people that have never been into the industry. So training them, getting them up to speed has been a challenge, right? Because now that they are part of the organization, we want to make sure that we provide enough resources to develop them. Okay? Not only because they didn't have the background, that doesn't mean that, hey, we find someone that has the experience, the background, let me replace you. We don't do that. And I don't think most companies don't do that. But I'm here to talk about Pharmavite. Again, we like to develop people that we get. That way we can explore the talents and see how far they could get in their career. So, and the reason why I'm saying that is because also last year this year hasn't finished. It's been unique. Like I said, we've been getting anyone that comes to the door, we hire them. As the positions are getting filled, now we are looking more to what type of background people have. And I see that across all the industries too. Now that most positions are full, now every company is looking, okay, now let's go back and see backgrounds. And that's because not only at Pharmavite, but every company went through the same thing. There was not enough people with experience. And as a result, every company is paying for it, meaning training people, developing people, and it's taking time for people to get developed. So now, like I said, I've seen that across the industries. Now we are being more careful who we bring on board. Okay. So what I want to do is first go through some of the companies that you guys will see in Southern California. And like I said, these are not all. So I'm not sure if you could look on the back, but let me see. Can they see the arrow? Yeah, I'll do it from here. Okay. So I'm gonna go through some of these. That way you guys get to know where more or less they're located. As I said, these are not all. There's more than double the amount of pharmaceuticals that are here in Southern California, and every month it seems that a company is getting open, and because of that, there's a lot of demand. Cell culture right now, it's booming. So for those of you that have degrees in biology, looking into cell culture, this is your opportunity to get into those companies. Okay. So Takeda, as I mentioned, there's one in Thousand Oaks and the one in LA. Okay. There's also one Immunity Bio that is also by Calabasas. Both of these in Thousand Oaks are heavy in cell culture. For those of you that are interested, when you are applying, just make sure that you select the right location. Okay. And of course, Pharmavite here in Silmar. We have Grifols for you, right, of the 710. Immunity Bio is also here by Culver City. We have Kite, which is huge when it comes to cell therapy. I know that they just went through a huge wave of hiring people. So you may want to look into that. Right now, they really want people out of high school, but that are interested in the cell or biotech. Okay, just FYI. We have Prolacta that even though it's not cell therapies or a biotech, they do the same thing that Takeda does with plasma, but they do it with milk, and that's for newborn babies. We have Bimeda, which it is a pharmaceutical, but for animals. Okay? We have Gilead. So we have quite a few, and like I said, these are not all of them. If anybody is interested in knowing where they are or having this presentation, please, doctor, make sure that they get this presentation. I don't mind sharing that with you guys. And what I have done is I have provided slides of each of these companies, more or less what they do. That way you have a point of reference in case you're interested in any of those companies. Okay. So once you get this presentation, feel free to look into it. If you have any questions, Dr. Aurora can reach out to me at any time, and I'll be more than glad to come and talk to you guys. Okay. For the future, I think I'm gonna start incorporating more of companies that are out there. So as I said, we have all of them here. Okay. All right. So next, what I want to go through are job descriptions. And why I think it's important is for you guys to do your resumes. So I brought a couple of examples of old job descriptions that I'm going to pass around. And also a couple of questions. Let me get one. I think I got 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. One of you may have to share, okay? But briefly, to me, there are three main sections of a job descriptions that are key for you guys to be looking at, okay? The first one, it always starts with the summary of the job description. What is it that the position does, or what is it that the company think that that position does? And the reason why I say that is because the summary of the job description is very generic. It cannot encompass everything that you will be asked to do in that position. But it's going to give you an idea of what they want that position to do. So it's very important for you to look at the description. Here I have an example of one, okay? That it says you will coordinate pickup, receipt, aliquot, distribution, and shipping of incoming bulk, intermediate, final containers, final package, stability, and validation samples. That doesn't mean that you're gonna do all of that. That means that eventually you're gonna be doing some of that, okay? Perform data entry and data collection. Perform daily lab support operations activities. Material supplied and chemical inventory and replenishment. Heating, glassware, washing, autoclaving, diaper generation, labware, biohazardous waste, removal, and QC documentation control. Some of this, you guys will be, whoever applies for it will be receiving the training. And that's because even if you have previous experience, every company does it a little bit different. The way they document information, the way they store that information, the way they share that information is very different from company to company. Okay. They all follow the GMP standards and guidelines that the FDA provides, but also those guidelines are slightly generic, okay? And again, emphasis on continuous improvement and cost effectiveness in daily activities you will report to manager, okay? To me, and using lean principles, you will see that in most of the, or some of the job descriptions, lean principles and continuous improvement. Or most of the organizations want to make sure that they have an efficient organization because of that. Lean has been part of ensuring that the companies are successful. Okay. The next section is the responsibilities. And primary duties. What do we expect you to be doing? Okay. In this section, you will find what is it that you're going to be responsible for. Okay. I suggest for you to take a look at those when you are applying. That way you could see whether you're able to do those or if you had previous experience. I have highlighted here using GMP, GDPs, LAMC, GMP and GLP, good laboratory practices, and also be familiar with FDA, GLP, QSR, CGMP. Also, I'm not sure how much of lean principles you guys are given, but those are key. And also 5S, that's one of the fundamentals for lean. Okay. The next section is the requirements. Okay. And you have to really look at this to make sure or to know if you have a chance to get that position. Okay. And the reason being is because there are some key words. For example, you will see here must be able to, my bad, must be able, or must have. Whenever you see the word must, there's no negotiation. Okay, but when it comes to education, in some cases, even though they ask for a bachelor degree, there may be some wording that says that if you don't have a bachelor degree, they may waive it with 4 years of experience, for example, in the lab setting. So look at the requirements. And the reason why I say that is because I do get a few resumes on my desk. And when I look at the position that they're applying for, they do not meet the minimum requirements. So even though they're highly educated, if they don't meet some of the requirements that I'm asking for, unfortunately, they will not get the position. Okay. Also, depending on what is needed in the organization at that moment, we may waive some of those requirements. And that's because of it could be either due to the talent that the company has that are looking for a specific need, or it could be because the company acquired new equipment, they're building capacity, so they need more people in. Like I gave an example that earlier this year, which were just hiring anybody, right? And that's because there was a lot of demand. But now that we have most of the positions full, now we're looking closely at the requirements to make sure that people have those. So it depends. And sometimes you may hear, well, I got a job at this place and they were not asking for anything. You should apply. People go and apply and don't get the position. And that's because every company goes through different cycles. And it may be that at that point, when that person or your friend went through, they were waiving some of those requirements. Okay? And again, that is one of the reasons why you should be taking this class, because if you put it in your resume, even if I see that you don't have any work experience, I know, for example, that you have some exposure to what is GMP, some exposure to what is GLP, good laboratory practices, right? You guys are working day in, day out with pipettes, right? Testing things. So I know that even though you don't have work experience, you at least have some knowledge of it, which is a lot better than someone that has no clue of what that is. Okay? We get that. We had that issue at the beginning of the year when we were hiring people that have no clue what was GMP. Documentation is huge in the pharmaceutical industry. If it's not documented properly, one, we cannot sell anything. We cannot release a product if it's not documented properly. And sometimes people take it for granted and said, oh, you know what, I just left out the date. That's not important. Well, it is very important. Or a signature. Those are huge. Also, depending if the company that you be working for has batch records. If they have paper batch records, for example, the type of pen that you use, it's important. And you may think, well, all pens are the same. No, gel pens are prohibited, or it's a huge issue if they find writing with a gel pen on a batch record. It creates a non-conformance report that somebody now has to justify why they use that type of pen. So little things that people take for granted in other industries are huge in the pharmaceutical industries. And that is why when they say that we need people with a GMP background, it's because the companies struggle when people don't know what are the guidelines or what are the requirements that they need to abide by. Okay? All of you should have about 2 to 3 job descriptions. I want you to take a moment to look at those 3. And on the second page that you have with the questions, if you can write down from those job descriptions, what are the main requirements that you saw? What are the nice to haves, right? And what will you use if you were applying to those positions to reflect on your resume? what are the keywords that you will have to incorporate in your resume, okay? So I'm gonna give you some time to do that, okay? If you have any questions, please let me know. All right, so we're gonna go over them, and let me start with the right side this time, okay? Oh. And you're gonna excuse me, but I did not memorize your names. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna be pointing. Okay. So let's start over here on this side. So what do you think are the nice to haves? Great, great. And you brought up very good, good points. So when I'm looking at you guys, I do see the future leaders of the industry. I do not see operators. There's nothing wrong with being an operator, but when I see you guys going the extra mile, getting your degrees, looking for opportunities to expand your knowledge, what I see, what that tells me is that you guys are emerging leaders. So when you talk about office etiquette, when you talk about teamwork, when you talk about leading, those are the key type of persons that we want in any organization. Okay, so that's great. That's great. And if you have that experience, even here at school, that, for example, you led a team on a project, put it on your resume. That speaks volumes, right? Because most of the people that are going to be reading your resume, most of the people went to college, and not everyone led a team. Right? Usually, when people go to school, they're like, "Oh, I have to do a project. Who's going to be the leader?" Everybody stands back, like, "I don't want to. There's more work. I have to do the writing. Just that, that's enough work for me." But again, being the leader speaks volumes on a resume. Okay, that's very good. The group over there. So, what are the main requirements?
Good communication skills and teamwork.
Those are good. Yes, those are good. What else?
I'd say to follow, to know like safety rules and SOPs, like to know the for your own safety, the signals on, yeah, the warning labels.
Okay.
Things like that.
Good. So you mentioned SOPs. So what are SOPs?
Standard operating.
Good, good. So that tells someone, right, if you're interviewing, that you know about GMPs. Okay. I would recommend when we're talking about main requirements is the knowledge of GMP. You have three or four different job descriptions, and all of them mention GMP. And that's because in the pharmaceutical industry, that's the number one key, knowing GMPs. So if you start with GMPs, you're on the right track. If you start detailing what are GMPs or working with SOPs, again, that would tell someone that's interviewing you that you know about GMPs. Okay. On this desk, what did you guys see as main requirements besides that?
Well, I pretty much wrote down all the GMP as well. Also, follow basic lab procedures.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if like each lab has different rules that we need to follow.
Mm-hmm.
And then I saw that there was towards like the back, high school diploma.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, just like she mentioned over there, reading the warnings, right? On reading the labels, it's huge. Reading documenting, making sure that every bottle is labeled properly labeled. Everything that you handle is properly labeled, and that you are aware of what you are handling, not only at the lab setting but also in manufacturing. Everything has to be labeled. If it's not labeled, if you encounter something that is not labeled, either don't touch it, notify someone, have that person remove that container or that bottle from the area. But that's huge. Okay. Here on this side, on this table. So, what will you reflect on your resume after looking at those job descriptions? If you were to apply to one of them, what will you reflect on your resume?
Understanding of SOPs and UOPs, being able to follow like asynchronous techniques.
Yeah.
Being able to like have experience in gowning,
Mm-hmm.
because I would say that it's like a must
Yeah.
for all of them. So he understands that gowning.
Has everybody here been exposed or know what's gowning? Do you guys cover that? Okay.
There's a certain way you can with the gloves.
Has anybody come and demonstrated that?
I do mostly the demonstration,
Okay,
but they
good.
had it before that.
Okay, great. Okay, good. Yeah.
They
Okay,
had it
good.
with grippers also.
Oh, perfect. Great. Yeah. Okay. So you know what is a clean environment, right?
Yes, they do.
Yeah. Good. All right.
Biosafety, one of the major things I emphasize even practically here, even if they have to look for where is the red trash can, they have to know the biosafety. So
Yeah.
that's one more emphasis that we have here in addition to following SOP. In the end, they will be writing an SOP.
Good.
Yeah, so that's what is my main emphasis. And not only GMP, how it is CGMP. What does it mean to stay current on GMP? And a quality course will be offered in springtime, but they already have a crash course in this for what is quality, what is QSR, what are code of regulations, what is IHO, ICH guidelines. They know all that.
Right.
So
you
they
guys
have
are
some
well
exposure
equipped.
to that.
Yes. That's great. Okay. Did anybody else identify anything that we have anything besides what we talked about?
Understanding of the
5 S's. Okay. Good. Anything else?
Maybe your physical abilities.
Physical ability.
Physical abilities. So it can, but but most jobs in the pharmaceutical will ask you to lift and push no more than 50 pounds, for example. And for you to get those positions, you go through a physical test. If you don't pass it, you don't get that position. We had that in the past where some people have applied and they say, oh, it's 50 pounds. And I don't think during the physical they make you lift the 50 pounds. But you go through a series of testing at a clinic. No company will do it. They'll send you to a clinic and they'll do it. I was surprised when I took the Pharmavite job that I had to do it. I'm like, but I'm going to be a manager. But anyway, I went. Like, man, I at one point I thought I wasn't going to pass it, because everything that the doctor asked me to do. But yeah, there's a series of testing that you have to go through in a clinic in the doctor setting. No company will do it. And if you pass, then you get the job. Okay. But look at those two. Make sure that you look at what is the requirement. That way you're ready when you go get the testing done.
So it is important to be able to lift or push and pull 50 pounds.
Depending of the position, right?
Got it.
We go back to the requirements. I don't think this one says that, the 50 pound, right? Oh, I have it right here. Okay.
40 pounds, the second line.
Oh, the
Must be
second line.
able-
Yeah.
Must be able to lift.
Pull and carry up to 40 pounds. Now, at Pharmavite, and I see that in Takeda, if a job is for someone to manage a 40-pound load every 5 minutes or every half an hour, every hour, we have devices to do that for you. To be doing it all the time. Either you're gonna use a forklift, you're gonna use a pallet jack, you're gonna use a cart. That way you're not carrying it. But the initial handling is what matters. So if you see that, don't think that, oh, I'm gonna be lifting 40 pounds, every minute, right? Yeah.
That's basically like a misconception I think a lot of people have when they see that must be able to lift and push. People think automatically, oh, I'm gonna be lifting something heavy.
Yeah, and what we say in every company that I know is that if it's heavy for you, ask for help. Ask for help. Always ask for help. We're telling our employees that even if it's 40, even if it says that you need to lift it, even if it's 40, 30, if you don't feel comfortable, ask for help. There's always someone willing to help. And if not, reach out to your immediate supervisor and he or she will assign someone to assist you. But yeah, the misconception when people see that is like, oh, I'm gonna be lifting 40 pounds. And it could be that those 40 pounds could be a box that you need to carry because those are brand new vials that you need to take to the lab, right? That you went to pick it up at the warehouse or something like that.
Would it be a barrier for hiring process? For actual scenario, you're saying we can help each other.
Yeah.
We can ask for help. We can help somebody.
Yes.
But would it be a barrier for hiring process? That's my question.
No, necessarily. So during the interview process, just like we're asking you questions, we want people to ask these questions to clarify. That's the moment that you have to clarify any questions regarding the job description. And we can then elaborate on what that means, right? If also during the application process, if there's any type of disability, if you indicate that there's any type of disability, then it is our job to accommodate for that. There's some the disabilities are covered under the California law, so we need to accommodate for that. And again, these are the generic requirements. It could be that you'll never have to lift 40 pounds, all right? But in most cases, it's here just in case, right? So when you see that, and if you are getting an offer and you know that you're gonna go get, tested for the physical, work out a little bit, prepare for it. That way you're able to pass. Don't do like I did. I just showed up. But yeah, it's please ask questions during the interview. Specific questions about the position that you're taking. Okay. That's a good question. Also, when you ask questions, my suggestion to you, ask questions like if you are getting the position. For example, if you are applying for this job description, say, you know what, when I get this position, how much do I need to lift, right? How much would I have to lift, or how often would I have to lift? When I get this position, and they will tell you, well, you don't, or you will once a day, or once a week, or once a month. But the minute that you let someone know when I get the position, that's in their head, right? Always be confident when you're interviewing. Okay.
One more question,
Yes.
if you don't mind.
Yeah, I'm here for questions.
Thank you. Most of them are continuing their education. Is it possible to actually have the shift that will accommodate them for their classes? Of course, the work is their priority, but at the same time, continuing medical education or continuing education is also a priority for Pharmavite.
Yes. Yeah. So you need to look at the shift structures, right? When you are not only in Pharmavite, for any company, ask them what are the shift structures. Every company has a different shift structure. For example, in manufacturing, in Pharmavite, we work 12-hour shifts, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. And we do not work every day. They work two times a week, and then they rest 3 days, and then they work 3, and then they rest 2, and so forth. So it rotates, right? So if you have that shift, whether you have it in the morning or in the evening, you know that it's going to be very difficult to have something, let's say if you are working in the morning, to have morning classes. Because every other week, right, that working day will land in the middle of the week. So I suggest working night. Or vice versa, if your classes are in the evening, then you could work in the morning. We do some type of accommodation at Pharmavite with the understanding that it's going to be only for one semester, as long as we know ahead in advance. First, we ask the students, can you make sure that you take all the classes that are not offered on your shift, but offered, and then if you have to, then we'll accommodate for one semester. We do that. Okay. Now, speaking my own experience, I have worked every shift. Okay. When I started my career at Takeda, I got in because nobody wanted to work the weekend shift. So I started the weekend shift. At that point in my life, I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to give my weekends. I won't be able to hang around with my friends. I won't be able to go party, whatever, right? Because I had to work Friday nights, Saturday nights, and one day during the week at night, a 12-hour shift. So I decided to do that in order for me to get a position in Takeda. After 2 months, they offered me a position on the graveyard shift, Monday through Friday, but that's 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. And that's because they couldn't fill that position and nobody wanted to work graveyard shift. And they were having a hard time finding someone. So I volunteered. I could move on, and I moved. I worked for 2 years. That gave me the advantage of going to school in the morning. It was hard, it's not easy, but it's doable. Okay? A lot of people have done it, but you need to apply yourself. You know, this is what I tell people when they're gonna take a graveyard shift. It's not easy at all. A lot of people go into it thinking, yeah, if they did it, I could do it. Yes, anybody could do it, but you need to apply yourself. Also, not knowing for how long you're gonna be there, right? You may have a plan saying, well, I'm just gonna work there at graveyard for 3 months, and then I'm gonna find a position and I'm gonna go somewhere else. Well, once you're in there, it's not up to you. It's about what options are available. And sometimes companies have, yes, openings every 3 months or every 4 months or every 6 months. But I have seen times where companies go a year without an opening. And once that opening is there, a lot of people want to apply, right? So if you take the graveyard shift, keep in mind that you may be there for a couple of years. After the graveyard shift, I went back to the weekend shift again, but the morning weekend shift. Then I was covering 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. So I gave out my weekends again. At that point, I was finishing my school. I thought that it was important for me to concentrate on finishing what I had started. I saw that I had opportunities that if I didn't continue my education, I wasn't going to have those opportunities. Also, at that point, I had 2 little ones. If you read, I have 3 kids, right? They're teenagers. So At that point, I had I think a 3-year-old and a newborn. So it was a commitment that I had with my wife, right? Because me being away on the weekend, now she will have to take care of the kids. But it's something that at one point, we decided to make that sacrifice, and it paid off. To me, I feel it paid off. But again, at one point, you're gonna have to make a commitment. You're gonna have to say, this is what I want to do to get to where I want to get, right? And each one of you have a different goal, which is great. Each one of you will decide how much you want to sacrifice, want to commit. Some people make this as a career. Some people say, oh, you know what, I don't like biotech after 5-10 years, and they move to something else, which is fine, right? You need to find yourself. But commitment, that's what's going to take you places. Okay? Any more questions? I'm here for questions.
Yeah, I'm curious about
Yeah.
navigating through Delta V and technology that you work with in the manufacturing as a manufacturer.
Yes. So Delta V is that must be at Takeda Baxter. So in Baxter, what they have, instead of having manual batch records, they have an interface where the batch record now it's computerized. So what you do is every task, there's a prompt that people need to either acknowledge or verify. So for example, if you were going to be setting up a filter press, for example, then you acknowledge, then the HMI will tell you that the filter press is ready to be assembled. You assembled it, then you acknowledge that it was assembled, then a verifier comes, checks the assembly, and acknowledges that it's verified. Then you move into starting the process, and everything is done through an HMI. What Delta V does is that incorporates everything that is happening with the equipment with the process. So it will give you the alarms that you need, that an operator needs to make sure that the process is going well, or the status of the process. And not only for operators. And Delta V is required for also engineers to be available. And that is because if the setup for any equipment is not done properly, or if the devices or alarms on those equipments wear out, like anything, right, wear and tear, then there's an alarm. There are alarms for the engineers to then take care of those issues. So it is a computerized batch record, but incorporates also feedback from equipment. Yeah. And for that, I highly suggest that if you guys are very good when it comes to coding, you get a Delta V certification. That goes a long way. Okay, coding. Okay.
What about the PLC and the EBM?
So PLC is a computerized system, right? So you need to interact with the PLC, the HMI. The other one is, so most large companies use an inventory system. Usually it's JDE Edwards. What that does is integrate that inventory system, I'm gonna use Delta V again, with Delta V, which tells you that any raw material that you're using, it checks for expiration date, it checks to make sure that it's available to use. Whatever you use, then that inventory system automatically in the warehouse is gonna account for, okay, you use 50 kgs of stearic acid or any raw material that you use. And what that does is that because it's taking care of the inventory, Now, when it's low enough, depending on the system that you have put in place, it sends a message, hey, we need to replenish this to whoever is ordering it. That way it orders automatically.
Sorry, did you say that was the PLC?
The PLC is the computer.
Oh,
The
and
EBM, they use that system to incorporate the inventory system with the Delta V. That way everything is in one place. Yeah.
Is that invaluable information what we are getting?
One more question.
No
from
problem.
me.
Any questions?
What is your strategy for working through the night? At 12 hours is long night. I had a student who was hired by Pharmavite. He used to come straight from there to class. He finished everything. He has the AS degree now. Loved working there. And I had the same question for him. He goes, I love what I do. That's how I get through the night. And I love what I come here for. So that's what gets me through the college. But what is your strategy as a new person to get through the night for a long 12-hour shift?
So it's a couple of things. Not only get through the night, but also get through the daytime, right? Because now you need to sleep during the daytime. So one of the things that I tell people is always invest on black curtains. No joke, because once you're sleeping during the daytime, the small amount of light that you see, you will not sleep. The sleeping that you do at night is very different than the sleeping that you do during the daytime. It bothers you to the point that the room needs to be pitch black for you to have a well-rested day, not night, day, for you to go back to work. Second is the shoes. So every company will give you vouchers to have working shoes. If you're working in manufacturing. If you're working for quality, I don't think they need those type of shoes. But if they do, they will have to give you a voucher. Do not go by the looks of the shoes. Go by what's comfortable. You know, people automatically, once they get their first voucher, I see the new hire as, oh, I'm gonna get the Dr. Martens, or I'm gonna get this, or I'm gonna get that. Do not go by the looks, because 12 hours standing on shoes that are not comfortable, it will kill you. And those vouchers are, in Pharmavite, it's every 6 months, but in some companies, depending on where you work, it's every year or every 2 years. So shoes. Also, your eating habits will change. How you eat. So having those identified, and that's because everybody's different how you eat. Make sure you identified when is the best time for you to eat, right? It's like, I don't know if anybody works at night right now, but for example, me, if I eat anything after 9 p.m., it takes me forever to go back to sleep because I'm full, right? So usually people that work at night, they want to eat breakfast right after work, and then if they need to go to sleep, they won't go to sleep. So identifying those little things make a huge difference. Okay. Yeah.
When it comes to the company, may have several openings sometimes.
Yeah.
They may provide growth on, they may provide development. I'm trying to say, what is your view regarding entry-level positions? There could be positions that provide growth without development, and some provide growth with development.
With the what? With the what?
Growth with development.
With development, yes. Yeah. Correct. So, yes. So, correct. So what happens and I see that on most of the industries, is that at the entry-level positions, what happens is that there are several people right at the entry-level positions, whether it's 10, 15, 20, 30, depending on the size of organization. And what happens is that when you have that many people, or even if you have one or two, if those individuals are eager to get ahead, they'll be noticeable. Meaning, for example, let me see if I could go back. As an example, okay? Let me see if it's right here. Revise and review SOPs and forms. SOPs get revised every so often, okay? And when that happens, we need to train people. Okay? Usually the supervisor is the one training people. The supervisor has so many tasks that they need to do. So supervisor is always asking for volunteers to help them out. So someone at an entry-level position may say to the supervisor, hey, let me help you train everybody. You let me know what changed on the SOP, and I could go around training people. Okay. To me, that shows leadership. To me, that shows someone that then I can rely, even if you're at the entry-level position. Even if you have 3, 4, 5 partners, right? That everybody in their mind are thinking, I'm going to wait to get developed, right? When am I going to get developed? But the person volunteering to help the supervisor, now that he's helping the supervisor is going to come and say, look, you helped me in training people. Now, instead of the supervisor getting trained, I'm going to send you directly with the people that are doing the training, and then you train everybody. And now, instead of training the shift, you're going to train the department. And slowly, you're going to get that development because you started by being proactive. If you wait to get developed, yeah, that development is going to come, but not right away. And it could happen years after, right? We always are looking for people that are wanting to get developed, not expecting to get developed. That is the difference. Wanting versus expecting.
Yeah, I think that's well answered. It makes big sense that one way to go up the ladder is offering yourself to assistant. So doing, you're deriving skills from your superiors, and that way you get the skills that are for people in those areas.
Yes.
And later on, therefore, you're suitable to be there.
Correct. Also, having an entry-level position, and if you want to go to another area in the organization, first you need to finish that entry-level position. Some companies will ask you to be there for a year or 2 years before you apply somewhere else. Okay. Also, if you're targeting another area in that organization, find out what are the job requirements. Okay. Find that out. Don't say automatically, well, I have this, I'm working here, but I want to go work in engineering. Okay. It's not going to happen if you don't know what is it that they're looking for. Okay. Always be ahead of the game, because once you identify what is it that they're looking for, then see if anything that you're doing in the current position, there's some tasks that are transferable to that area. So when you apply, you can say, well, yes, I've been working here, but I've been doing A, B, and C. Okay. So that works. Yeah. Any other questions? That's a good one. Yes, ma'am.
What is maintaining 5S?
Okay, so you guys know what is 5S?
I haven't done that yet.
You haven't done that yet?
Yeah.
All right, great.
My fault. It's coming.
So it is coming, great. So 5S, oh, my bad. So 5S is one of the principles of lean manufacturing. Well, everything that I say is manufacturing because that's where I mainly work. Let me see, I had a slide about 5S.
It's coming in detail, guys, for you.
Let me get out of here. Job descriptions. It's after this, I think. This is GMP, which you guys are very well aware. Okay. So 5S, right? So I'm talking about lean. What is lean? So 5S is part of the lean principles. It's one of the bases of lean. Okay, that's right here, the very basic. So 5S stands for sort, set, shine, standardize, and sustain. So what happens is that usually an area will go through a Kaizen event. That's what it's called, a Kaizen event, where they identified what needs to be in that area and identify the right location for everything that belongs there. Okay, so you start by sorting things out. Whether you're going to 5S this lab, for example, right? Does this go here? Does it make sense that this tape goes here, or does it go in the sink, right? Where are you gonna use it at, right? Put it in the right place. You set in order. That's finding the right location. Then you clean it up. You identify the items that don't belong. You set them aside. And for example, if you start in that area, in that location, then you standardize it. You make other areas that are the same. You standardize it. And how do you sustain it? In most cases, you will go ahead and color code the areas where things go. You could use, for example, red to identify a location where you cannot store anything. For example, if it's an electrical panel, usually people put buckets or trash can. But if you want that area to be clear, right, you just put a red box indicating nothing goes there. If it's something that needs to be replenished or that something belongs there, then you could put a green square. In some cases, people have 5S their offices, the location, and it varies. It could be that once you lift it up, it would tell you tape. That way you know where this goes after, or the keyboard or the mouse. So that is 5S, very generic. But in the manufacturing place, we use it as well. Where to put the equipment, where to locate or place the devices that we use. In the lab area, also they use 5S. Okay.
Just one. When it comes to manufacturing, my understanding that every step has to be approved by somebody besides the production manager. How do you let the team understand that they may be very reliant on quality department in order for them to progress in whatever they want to end up with? Because people may not really have this understanding that somebody has to be checking you to approve or to review and approve. Especially when you're just starting, you think, I know what I know, why am I being checked by QC department, for instance?
Yeah.
So in the initial stages, how do you ensure that somebody does not to understand that?
The process, yes. So first of all, when you are a new employee, you need to go through, a basic training first to understand what are the basic requirements of the job. Okay, that basic training is going to allow you to start the training with someone. Okay, that initial training will have to give you the hazards of the area where you're going to be working, whether you're going to be working in a lab setting, what type of chemicals that they have. If you're going to be working in a manufacturing setting, what equipment they have, what are the Lakataga procedures, what are the electrical hazards that you may have. For example, if they have delta V, what is it that you can acknowledge and you can't? Also, in those cases, you will need a special password to access, and you will not get that special password until you're done with your training. So once you have that basic training, that you have an understanding of what is happening, where you're gonna be working, then you can start your training with a partner. Also, you mentioned that there are times when managers or QC need to check. If you're using a batch record, automatically it's going to tell you what needs verification and what doesn't. Usually every critical process has a verifier. In the process, there are some critical parts and non-critical parts. The critical ones are the ones that require a verifier. So you perform a task, and a partner or somebody else comes in and verify that you did that. Then, at a certain section of the batch record, whether it's 2 pages, 3 pages, or depending on the process, those all pages will need an additional signature by a lead, a team lead, or a supervisor, or in some cases from quality, to say that everything was done accordingly. They have to sign, and then you can move on with the process. But everything is either written down or computerized. Okay? So you will know when you need a verified. And that's because, one, you go through a very basic training first. Second, you go through some training with a partner. And then we're asking you to read the instructions on the batch record or on the computer.
So is it about confirming that this solution was prepared by Ronald, or this solution has been prepared in my presence and I've seen what is added to what?
It depends on the verification, and it depends on the process, how critical it is. I've seen some steps where a verifier needs to be physically there looking at what you are adding. And I've seen verification that once a person adds certain raw material to a step, the verifier needs to come to make sure that the load cells of that equipment reach that amount. And all he has to do is verify the container that is there, the amount that the equipment is showing, and that's it, because there's no other raw materials nearby. So it depends on the step, how much verification you need.
This is my last question.
Yeah, you could ask.
You've been, what we've seen, you've been to 3 companies, Grifols, Takeda, and Pharmavite. How do you compare the 3 currently in terms of when you went in there and when you exited? How do you compare?
Each one is very different. Each one is very different. Let me tell you, the 3 of them will give you enough opportunities for you to be developed. And I'm not talking just about those 3 companies. Every company has opportunities, but I'm going back to what I said earlier, how much you want to sacrifice, how much commitment you have. That's what matters. Some people want real quick changes. We've seen that in the cell culture industry. People are bouncing from Kite to Immunity Bio to Atara, going back to Kite, because what happens is that they're hiring people with experience, and what people also don't realize, also the benefits that these companies have. We have well-established companies and we have startups. I didn't talk about that, my bad. So you have to know the difference between a startup company and a well-established company. usually startups don't offer that many benefits. But what they do, they offer a good salary. Okay, they may pay you $45 an hour, but without any health benefits, right? But you may need those health benefits, right? So at the beginning, it may sound very good to go work for somebody that's paying you $45 an hour, but in the long run, is that what you want? Okay? We see that, for example, in the cannabis industry. Throughout the year, I get reached out for a few companies, and that's one of the industries that are recruiting heavily. And I ask, so what are the benefits? That has no benefits at all, because it's by federal law, it's not legal. So they cannot offer the benefits that people need, but they have a lot of cash. So again, what is it that you want? My advice to you is whatever company that you work in, see if that's the right fit for you, and if it's not, then you could try another one. But if you're gonna be trying another one, then it may not be the companies, right? What is it that you want in the long term?
Well, you just said that it was by federal law that these companies may not offer benefits. Was that what you said?
No. I'm talking about the cannabis industry. So they haven't legalized that.
Is by federal law unable to offer.
No. So what I said is that the cannabis industry, they haven't been authorized by federal law to operate. So because of that, they cannot provide the same benefits that a regular company has. And the reason being is because everything that they do, or most of what they do, is by cash only. That I know there hasn't been a bank that can invest in them, because by federal law it hasn't been approved. So because of that, they cannot offer the benefits that other companies are willing to offer.
So, since cannabis is legalized in some states,
States, not federal.
some states, yeah.
Yes.
If you found,
And I know zero about that, but go ahead.
probably this is not so important, but if you found some traces of CBD in somebody's blood, and they take it because it is legal to be consumed in the state, what are the implications, chances of being accepted as an employee?
It depends. I know because it's also for medical conditions. Some people take it, right? Not only because they want to, but also medical reasons. So yes, the background check also consists of a drug test. And it depends. I'm not familiar to what range they have. It may be that you are allowed to have some traces, don't know, because I don't deal with that. But I know that because it's legal and because it's, in some cases, some people take it for medical purposes, they may be allowed. But don't quote me on that. Okay?
Yeah, just asking for.
However, if you do get into an accident at work, depending on how serious the accident is, we will send you to get drug tests for that. Not only drug tested, but alcohol as well. So they run a whole series of that depending on the accident that you cause. And in those cases, again, depending on how it shows, you may lose your job. Okay. Yeah.
I saw Six Sigma on your slides, and I was really curious about it.
Good. Yes. So I got certified through Baxter. And what it does is that you need to, in order to get the certification, you need to have a series of projects done to get that around lean. Currently, I am also finishing my executive green belt from Pharmavite. My goal was to have it done by December, so I'm really pushing for that. I'm gonna have everything ready, but also the committee has to review everything. So hopefully, I'm banking that I'll have it done. I have my next certification coming soon. But what it is like I said, you have to do a series of projects, identifying what is needed in the company, understanding. Then you determine what is causing the issue. You measure it, you analyze it, you improve it, and then you control it at the end of the project. And you use that by using statistical analysis when you're measuring and you're analyzing. It's not a quick, it's not a small project. Usually those take months to do. Those are not simple projects to have. So like I said, I had to do 3 of those at Baxter to get my certification, besides going through some training that is offered for that as well. That it shows you what is the principle of Six Sigma, and you go through the theory of that. You could get your certification through other agencies as well. So I highly recommend, if you have the opportunity to do that, or if you're working and if they offer that training to do that, to go after that. At Pharmavite, to get to Six Sigma, what we have done is that we have implemented white belt training to everyone. And our goal this year was to have 40% of the population trained on white belt. By next year, we want 80%, and in 3 years, we want everyone to be 100% on white belt. And we're not stopping there. For the ones that have met the white belt certification, they have the option to do the yellow belt, and then the green belt. All the managers are required to have a not Six Sigma, green belt lean, which I also have. But the Six Sigma, it's more robust than the lean green belt.
So is it about, if you are in that organization or company, is it about offering corrective actions and preventative actions when there is a challenge that requires a minimization of time or cost or something?
Yes.
When you create a project,
Yes.
deal with offering corrective actions and preventative actions.
Correct. Yes. So we utilize the CAPA system, corrective and preventive actions, but that is, we use that more on the quality side for non-conformance reports. So every regulated industry, if there's an issue with the process, there's a non-conformance report that needs to be done. For example, if someone forgot to add a raw material in the process, or somebody added the incorrect amount. Instead of 20 kgs, you added 21 kgs. Now you have a non-conformance report that you need to justify why it's good to release. In those cases, you need to come up with a corrective action and a preventive action. And that could be from training, from either having the right scale, having the right scanners, having a verifier at that step. So it depends, it varies on case by case.
from in your office, have you experienced a lot of delays from compliance office to say they are not releasing what has been produced by Pharmavite on the basis of lack of adequate evidence that there is compliance with regulatory requirements?
So let me tell you something. Quality will never delay the release of products. Manufacturing will delay the release of products because we need to offer quality, enough evidence, enough justification for them to say, yes, go release it. They could come back to us and tell us, no, you cannot release this because there's not enough justification. That is not a delay on quality. That is a delay in manufacturing. Okay? Quality is there to make sure that we do the things right. Okay? Black and white. Does it meet the specs? Yes or no? They're going to tell you no. Why? It is manufacturing job to prove that it's okay to release. So quality will never delay. It's manufacturing the one that delays the release of products. And that's some of the misconceptions that you will hear sometimes. People hearing, well, quality never allows us to release this on time. Well, quality never does this. Quality is taking forever. No, it's not quality. It's manufacturing the one that needs to show enough evidence for quality to do the right assessment for them to release. Okay. Any other questions?
So is it for the sake of traceability that we go through every step for verification and?
Yes, you're correct, 100%. So whenever a product is released to any consumer, and if there's anything wrong with it, we need to be able to see, one, what location it was produced, in what area it was produced, and who produced it. So those batch records, those electronic records, they get saved for years. I'm not sure if it's a 10-year requirement that we must save those documents in case there is an issue with the product. And it gets traced back to the point that whoever signed in the batch record. I'm sure some of you have heard of recalls that are done. Depending on the industry, the pharmaceutical industry is very, very good at documenting. So if there's any recalls, they're able to determine or find out the reason why it was that recall.
So in your company currently, what are those key factors that the person in charge of releasing the product has to ascertain before it gets out for distribution?
So we have a series of specs that they need to look at for them to release. The specs could be, for example, for tablets, vitamins. Is it the right weight? Is it the right thickness? Is it the right hardness of the tablets? Right, those are the main ones for a tablet. For a soft, depending on the type of vitamin that you have. There's some disintegrations that take 6 hours, and that's because we want the tablet to dissolve at a certain rate. There's some tablets that we test for 4, 6, and 12-hour disintegration. Not for all the tablets. For the tablets that don't need to disintegrate, we do check for, like I said, hardness, thickness, and weight, and that will let us know the disintegration factor. If it's too thick, if it weighs too much, we know it's not going to disintegrate at the rate that we want. But in some cases, for example, the chewables, we do want them to disintegrate right away. So there's specs for that. For soft gels, for example, for the fish oil that you guys take, that people take, I guess, we need to look for the seams to make sure that the seams are correct. We need to look for discoloration to make sure that the fish oil is even, the color is even for spots, for example, inside the fish oil. So there's some visual tests that we have, and also we incorporate the lab results. So for example, the multivitamins, we test every vitamin that we make to prove that all the vitamins that we say it has. So we have to wait for the lab results to make sure that everything is accounted for. For example, if we say that this vitamin has 30% of vitamin B12, and the results come back that it only has 10%, we cannot release. So what we do is we get the tablets. Some tablets we're able to mill them again, make them powder, and add what is missing. In some cases we're not. We have to throw it away. So it depends on the specs that the person is looking for.
In your view, are these all federal requirements or are they internal specifications?
They are internal specifications to meet federal standards. Okay. When you look at the CFR, that's the standards that the FDA sets. They're very general. They will not tell you exactly how to run your business. But when they come and audit you, you need to provide enough evidence to show that your business is doing what you say is doing, or that your product has what it says that it has. So you need to provide that evidence.
Yeah, for the time you've worked, have you experienced voluntary recall or forced recall?
Pharmavite, since I started working there, we haven't recalled anything. When I work at Baxter, Takeda, also we didn't recall anything. So I haven't been in any recalls. But I have friends that have been part of recalls, and it's a huge headache to have. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Talk about how your company offers the white yellow training.
Yes.
I'm just wondering what that entails.
Yes, so the white is the very basics of lean. They will tell you about 5S. They will tell you about what is a Kaizen, how to participate in a improvement team. So they will ask you also to do a rapid problem solving session, and they will teach you how. So that is the very basics of white belt in a nutshell. But it's a 1 week training. Then you have the yellow belt training, where then you will have to do about 3, I think, basic rapid problem solvings. Then you will have to participate in 2 Kaizen events, I believe, and also a week training. And then you have the green belt that you have to lead 3 Kaizen events and be active in basic rapid problem solving.
Wonderful. One last question, in the interest of time. We can have
Sorry,
Mario all day.
I took forever today. These are for you to keep. I'm not gonna collect them, FYI.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's a treasure. So one last question anybody has?
I was really interested about the company that you said manufactures or deals with breast milk.
Prolacta. I believe they are the only ones here that I know. I may be wrong, but Prolacta. They have 2 locations now. One in West Covina and the other one in top of my head. If I look at the map, I'll probably be able to tell you. Seat of Industry. It may be Seat of Industry in that area, but they're very close, within 10 miles each. So what they do is they receive frozen milk from donors, and they store it for about, I believe, 60 days. And during those 60 days, they collect samples, they run it through several tests, Once those tests come out, then they go ahead and centrifuge the milk to extract whatever they need to extract, and it's a similar process that Takeda has with plasma. Similar requirements too. You have to gown up, and you have to follow GMP guidelines too.
Okay. So on behalf of the entire class, I would like to thank the expert, green belt holder. Now you know what I meant by an epitome of education and industry experience, and actually making that transition so easy for you, giving you the actual guidelines and exercise how to accomplish that. I think that's the wealth of knowledge that he shared with us today. So please allow me to thank him, and everybody join me in applauding him.
Thank you.
Excellent workshop.